go. Okay. Everything's all set up. Good to go. It has been quite a while since I did one of these streams, but, getting back into the groove of things. So, how's it going, everybody? Steven here from Tostemac, and welcome to another Tostemac live stream. Before we do anything, first, Zagdrin, how's it going? And it's your birthday today. Happy birthday. What did you do today? So today we're going to be talking about some news you may have heard earlier about a company, Rooster Teeth, officially shutting down. Like, if you go to the Rooster Teeth website, it's basically not there anymore. But before we get to that, we're going to give a few more minutes, for people to show up if they're, running late, and we'll get started. But in the meantime, Zagtrin, how you doing today? So, yeah. So I probably spent all week mentally preparing myself for doing this live stream because Rooster Teeth really meant a lot to me. Like, at first it was, some funny videos to watch, but then, like, years later, as I was, like, beginning to understand, what they were doing and, like, what kind of impact they had on my life, they became more and more important to me, more significant to me, like so many other people, So I had to mentally prepare myself for this because I'm going to try my best not to cry, but I make no promises. All right? That's all I'm going to say on the matter. So, just going to type a quick message real quick. Just gonna make sure to spell it right. There we go. Okay. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started. So, Rooster Teeth. I was not expecting to do a live stream like this anytime soon, but for me, I feel like doing this will give me personally, a sense of closure, like, this is it, And I think it's best to go back to when it all started, or at least when I got introduced to Rooster Teeth. It was back during high school, and we had access to the media center from time to time. And when we got finished with schoolwork, we got to check out, some videos of our own. And one of the classmates came to me and was like, hey, have you heard of this web series called Red versus Blue? And I was like, no, I haven't. And I thought it was like, some stupid like animation stuff, like drawings and stuff. And then when they showed the first couple episodes to me, I saw it and I was like, wait a minute, that's Halo. Why am I seeing gameplay of Halo? And what I saw from there was people, as the creators described it, playing a video game the wrong way. Like, they weren't actually shooting each other. They weren't trying to win. They were actually using the video game to perform, for lack of a better expression at the time, a skit. Just like two people like moving the controllers up and down and like having voice lines in them, giving the illusion that the characters were talking to each other, cracking jokes, dropping some cuss words, And the more I watched it, I was like, oh, I really like this. And then when it got to the really funny parts, I kid you not, I was laughing so loud that everyone in the media center heard me laughing. It was so hilarious that I couldn't contain myself. So from that point, I started to watch Red vs. Blue on my own time. Mostly so I can avoid getting in trouble with school. And I was so amazed, like, not just with the comedy, the PSAs, but, like, the story that was being told. So from that point, the more after I started getting more used to seeing Red versus Blue, then I started to get to know more about, the Rooster Teeth company itself. Well, actually, let me clarify something. It wasn't always called Rooster Teeth. Back when it first started, I believe it was just first redversusblue.com. It was just the Red versus Blue website. And it wasn't like a big company back then. It was just about 4 to 6 people, give or take, maybe a little bit more. I think it was definitely less than 10. But it was like these group of people that came from nothing, had common jobs like either retail or like telemarketing and stuff like that. And they came together and was like, hey, why don't we make something fun? Why don't we make this series while playing a video game the wrong way? And the way they had things set up, they were recording stuff in like, a room kind of like this or like the living room, and with like mic and audio setups to make it sound like they do in Red versus Blue. And the funny story about that was the reason that the characters in Red versus Blue sounded the way they did was because 1 or 2 people had to record the lines while they were away on a trip. And what they did was they made the rest of the audio from the other recordings, made it sound just like that, to not only make sure all the audios sound the same, but also to give a bit more authenticity to like the story. Like you can actually imagine, like, as the characters are moving, you can imagine them talking through the helmets and stuff, So it was really a lot of fun. But the thing is that, something like this hadn't been done before back then. Like, the term machinima, like, using video games to tell a story or, like, create a funny video and stuff, machinimas weren't even around back then. I mean, heck, I don't think even YouTube was around back then. So what they were doing was something that was never done before. It was completely uncharted territory. And it could have easily gone wrong, or it could have easily been shut down earlier. And then at some point, Microsoft Bungie got in touch with the... Sorry, let me get my words right. Then later on, the video game companies, Microsoft and Bungie, the creators of Halo, actually reached out to the people making Red versus Blue. And I should probably mention right now, the people who made Red versus Blue, some of them anyway, were Bernie Burns, Matt Hullum, Gus Sorolla, and Jeff Ramsey, if I remember correctly. I think those were like the main 4. So they actually reached out to them, and usually, especially nowadays, when you think a video game company would reach out to those making fan-based parodies or machinimas, they would like tell them to stop or like give them a cease and desist. But what Bungie and Microsoft did, they actually reached out to them and said, hey, we love what you're doing and we want to help you keep doing it. So from there, Bernie and the others had this special connection with Bungie that hadn't really been seen before. Like a video game company actually supporting a fan-made series. Something like that was like so rare, but it was like an amazing opportunity for them, to like continue working on Red versus Blue to make it more funny and grow on the story and stuff. And like Bungie actually, Bungie and them actually worked together on like a few things. Like they did a promotional video for the Halo 3 multiplayer beta, and that was a lot of fun. I think there was a couple other things they partnered with. Oh, wait, there was another thing. In Halo 3, there was actually a couple of Easter eggs, a couple of Red versus Blue Easter eggs that they actually put in, where the actual voice actors got to do a little skit of their own in the game. That was actually really awesome. Now, back to the website. It used to be called Red versus Blue because it was just a few people and their main thing was Red versus Blue. And they also had like a comic series in there too. It was a funny stuff, but you had to go to the website in order to see it. So later on, it grew into Rooster Teeth when there was like more people getting involved, and it was no longer just like a few people in a house making a funny video series, but it was like they were actually making this into an entertainment company. Soon it wasn't just Red versus Blue. It was Achievement Hunter. It was Slow-Mo Guys. It was Let's Play. It was, and many years later, Face Jam, Hardcore Tabletop, movies, documentaries, and so much more. And as I was first watching Rooster Teeth grow, I was just thinking, funny videos. But in the years that would come, I started to, understand a little bit more about what it was that they were building. It was more than just funny videos, but it was like their own website, their own entertainment company, where they create their own content for people to see. Content that hasn't been seen, or the likes of which haven't been seen anywhere else, And I think the point where I began to admire Rooster Teeth was, I'm trying to think. There were two instances that made me begin to admire Rooster Teeth. One of which was when a late artist by the name of Monty Ohm came into the picture. And the way I get introduced to Monty Ohm in particular was in college. A friend of mine actually showed me a different machinima series called Dead Fantasy. I'm not sure how many of you remember that, but it was like a mix of Dead or Alive and Final Fantasy, and it was just these characters like fighting each other. The thing that stuck out though was like the insane choreography and all the action that was going on. It was insane, unlike anything I've seen before. But again, I just thought of it as like, wow, awesome videos. But then when I started to see those similar animations in Rooster Teeth's series, Red vs. Blue, I believe it was the season when Agent Washington kind of turned on the Reds and Blues, and one of the things that happened, like Sarge was being held at gunpoint, and then you hear some noise, and then bursting through the wall, there was this warthog coming in to run Agent Washington over. And it was like, wait, whoa, what's going on here? What's going on? My mind was blown. I never seen anything like it before. It was crazy. And it was like what, why are the characters moving around? Why are they never did that in the video games. Why are they doing that in the video game? What's going on? So, like, at that point, it was like, I started to understand, like, how are they doing this? Then one of my friends tell me, yeah, that's Monty Ohm did that. Monty Ohm did that? The same person who did Dead Fantasy? So, that was, like, it was something that caught me completely by surprise. Like, yes, I'm used to, like, the Machinima series, where they just go up and down and put voice lines and stuff. And that was what I was used to. But I never would have thought in a million years that something like that would happen. It was something that was truly unique, and it was something that Rooster Teeth and Monty Ohm could truly call their own. And people were loving it. Then, I believe a few seasons later, Rooster Teeth actually gave Monty Ohm the green light to make what is now one of the most popular anime series out there, RWBY, Ruby. And the unique thing about this is, like, it really, the series Ruby really showed, the kind of artist Monty Ohm was, the kind of person who could take a lot of the stories and elements that we kind of take for granted, like Little Red Riding Hood, Snow White, Sun Wukong, different elements, and make it into something that was unique, something that he could truly call his own. He and his team were able to make animations and stories that, we never, again, much like with Red vs. Blue, we haven't even seen before. And I think one of the most unique things about RWBY is that, weapons and stuff like swords, sniper rifles, guns, and stuff, usually we think of that as stuff that, tears people apart. But the unique thing about the world of RWBY, at least in my opinion, is that in a strange way, these weapons kind of brought people together. Not just by destructive power, but like creativity, ingenuity, thinking outside the box, thinking what you could do if you had free range with imagination. I think it was at that point that I began to admire Rooster Teeth and Monty Ohm and the other people in Rooster Teeth, and began to follow them wholeheartedly. The content they were doing and the work they'd done was stuff that I've never seen before, and I couldn't help but wonder where it would lead. So I just started following them ever since, well, not literally following, but following their content, you know what I mean. Because it was so amazing that, a group of people that came from nothing, people like me, people like you, just someone that did not have like a fancy title to their name or didn't come from royalty or wasn't the son or daughter of a celebrity. No, it was just common people, just like honing their skills, doing what they love to do and finding a way to follow that passion for a living. It was just an amazing experience to behold. And some of you may know that Rooster Teeth is actually the reason that I'm a content creator. They are the reason why I make these videos. They inspired me, to follow my own path, create content that's truly unique to myself, or as they would put it, create your own Rooster Teeth, something that's truly your own, something that people really enjoy, and hopefully, in a way, something that brings people together. Which leads me to the second part of why I really loved Rooster Teeth. And that is this amazing guy named Jack Patillo. If you've seen or heard Jack Patillo before from like Achievement Hunter, that guy is like a giant teddy bear. He's such a lovable guy, kind-hearted person, always bringing smiles to everyone's faces. And the unique thing he did, he started to do with Jeff Ramsey and stuff, Jeff Ramsey and a few others, was they partnered with Extra Life. And Extra Life is an organization, a charity organization, that helps raise money for, if I remember correctly, Children's Miracles Hospital Network, by playing video games and having people donate, So, simple concept, pretty straightforward. But since Rooster Teeth had grown so much over the years, they were at a point where they could host a Extra Life charity live stream for like 12 hours, and they used to do 24 hours. And the amount of money that their community was donating was staggering. Some were donating hundreds, some were donating thousands, some were donating $667 for a special thing to happen. But what I witnessed there was more than just a charity live stream. It was more than just people playing video games and other people donating. No, it was a group of people from different walks of life and maybe different parts of the world coming together to make such a significant difference for those who need it. Like, in the first several years of Rooster Teeth Extra Life livestream, they were able to raise over $1 million each time. Well, before they went from like 24 hours to 12 hours, but like they raised millions of dollars. Millions! And that money went to like building facilities. That money went to providing services for upgrading, medical equipment and providing like a serene outdoor park thing for children to walk around. It provided things to children and families that needed them. And that was probably the point where I truly understood what Rooster Teeth had become, what Rooster Teeth had been doing. That they were doing much more than just making funny videos. That they were doing more than just making awesome series with amazing action and storytelling. They were creating stuff, they were creating content and opportunities that had never been seen before. And in doing so, they brought so many people together to make such a positive difference in the world. In a way, Rooster Teeth has significant effect on like not only what is machinima, because they were the ones that kind of got that started, but also redefining what it is to be a community. That it doesn't have to be just your next door neighbor or who's in your neighborhood or like who you would see in school. No, it could be anybody. Like anybody who has like the same interest as you or like the same like goals as you or same, interest and whatnot. Bringing so many people from different parts of the world together as like this new form of community, an online community where people can share their stories, lift people up if they're feeling down, share stories, articles, and, make new opportunities of their own, and in turn, in a way, inspiring so many others to be the best that they can be. And that was what really got me to admire Rooster Teeth and follow them for as long as I did. And, how much of an impact they had in terms of like defining what an online community is. Now, of course, it wasn't just Rooster Teeth alone. Not by any means. It was many other groups too. Like there was also Screw Attack that came around the same time as Rooster Teeth, and they helped, redefine online communities too. It was both Screw Attack and Rooster Teeth. There was also, as I mentioned earlier, Let's Play and Achievement Hunter, where a bunch of people would, play video games, mess around with each other, making hilarious moments. And also, like, new ideas like Hardcore Tabletop, and there was also, like, Survive Block Island. But there were other things, too. There were, like, Rooster Teeth Podcast. There was Face Jam. I think they've gone to 100% Eats now. I think so. But there was also, like, they did some documentaries and made some movies of their own, like Laser Team 2. And I'm trying to remember, they did, like, a funny horror movie. I just can't remember the name of it. I'm sure it'll come to me. And there was also, like, another... Oh, I just remembered. Since I'm on the topic of Screw Attack, there was also this other series called Death Battle, where basically they would put two fantasy characters from different shows or different video game series and make them fight to the death, but also like, comparing facts and weapons, armor, and skills, as they put it, And funny thing is, as I was watching the final live stream of Rooster Teeth, we'll get to more of that in a bit. It was actually mentioned from a couple people, Chad James and Sam, that the reason that they got started with, Death Battle was because they watched Red versus Blue and they loved what Rooster Teeth was doing. So that got them thinking, hey, why don't we make something of our own? Let's make some content, that that nobody else has done before, and it's unique and that people will enjoy. So what happened was Death Battle had grown significantly because, the stuff they were talking about, like, let's see some of the matchups, like Gaara versus Toph. There was Superman versus Goku. Very controversial, mind you. Iron Man versus Batman. There was also, God, there was so many. There's so many. Sonic versus Mario. It was like the kind of conversations that you would have in like school or at work, as you like talk to one another, like, hey, I bet this character could beat up that character because of this, and that. No, this character will win because this and this and that. Death Battle was kind of like the personification of that. It was that idea made manifest, and people loved it. So, but Chad James had mentioned that, a big reason for that was because they grew up watching Red versus Blue and Rooster Teeth. And years later, they actually got the chance, to work with Rooster Teeth. And they'd be like, hell yeah, sign me up. Getting to work with people that you've admired over the years, that's not exactly an opportunity that comes by often. So there was also a couple other ones too, or at least one other one. There used to be this group called Game Attack that used to be a part of Rooster Teeth, but eventually they kind of broke off and started to do their own thing. Nowadays they're called Hang Time on Twitch. But the thing is, sorry, I'm just having this moment of silence. It's like, really thinking back. It's like, when you think about it, a lot of these shows and groups, like, all the groups I've mentioned and all the shows I've mentioned, like Death Battle and, Ruby and some other ones that came later, like there was also Immersion, there was also Camp, there was also Genlock, and so many more. All of this started with Rooster Teeth. All of this started with, like, Red versus Blue, with two video game characters just standing on top of a vase and saying, no, stop, on top of a base, not vase. On top of a base saying, hey, yeah, you ever wonder why we're here? That's how it all started. And to think that, it started from something as simple as that to something as ginormous as what Rooster Teeth has become, it was unheard of, but also inspiring. That, like, if these group of people with common jobs were able to achieve this, then, anything could be possible if you put your heart, mind, and soul into what you do, what you're passionate about, pursuing it. Of course, that's not to say that, it was all perfect. Not by any means. No company's perfect. There were some mistakes, some mishaps, and there was also some layoffs, I'm not going to argue any of that stuff. But it's like, I kind of... It's like, I love talking about all the great things of Rooster Teeth, but it's like, now we get to the point where it's like, talking about, like, why Rooster Teeth was shutting down. There could be some guesses. No, not guesses. It was actually online. There was a point where Rooster Teeth was actually bought by a company, Warner Media, which I think is part of Warner Brothers. And I feel like at that point, things had started to change. It was subtle and not too noticeable at first, but like as the years went on into more recent years, the changes started to become more apparent. Eventually, it was coming to a point where it's like it was coming to a point where it was like it was kind of hard to recognize the original Rooster Teeth. I mean, I still love their stuff, but you could tell that they changed drastically. They were also having like financial issues, like they were in the red for quite a while. But despite all of that, you know, Rooster Teeth was still making content that people love. And I remember I remember the week before the announcement, I was going to a sushi place with my neighbor and I was telling them about why Rooster Teeth and why Monty Ohm has inspired me to be a content creator, why I'm making YouTube videos today. You know, and he could really tell that, this really meant a lot to me. And I kid you not, the next week I get a text from my neighbor saying, "Rip Rooster Teeth, R.I.P. Rooster Teeth." And my heart sank because I knew what that meant. That there was the official announcement that Warner Media was shutting Rooster Teeth down. And if you saw the last couple of live streams that Rooster Teeth did, you can tell that this company really meant a lot to them. Not just with, the content they made, but the opportunities that were made. Of the bonds of friendship and, heck, even feeling like family. Those kind of bonds that were made. Like, you tell from the emotions that they really wanted to keep things going, and it meant so much to them. So, it was kind of hard, it's like, it was like in the last couple streams, you could tell that they were really hurt of the news and were very thankful for all the love and support over the years. Even Jeff Ramsey came on one of the streams and he was crying and Jack was there to comfort him, give him a nice bear hug and all. And then on the final live stream was when they really kind of reflected on what Rooster Teeth meant to them. It wasn't just the main cast of people, but also the production crew, the people from the different groups that were made because of Rooster Teeth, sharing their experiences and how Rooster Teeth has helped them grow throughout their time there. And then in the last hour or so, the man himself, Bernie Burns, comes in and really reflects on how it all got started. And he mentions that Red versus Blue just started out because of a funny show that other people were making. It became Rooster Teeth when it was becoming bigger and more people were getting involved. Soon it was more than just their little project, but it was other people and other people's projects too. And he mentioned how proud he was to see his work grow, but other people's work grow too. There was a couple of people Carrie Shawcross, one of the creators of RWBY, how Carrie got started with Rooster Teeth and how he had grown so much over the years in terms of managing a production of a series and with how proud he was with Carrie of how he's grown as a person, but also how he's grown as someone in a professional field, and all because he was given the chance, that he was given the opportunity to learn and grow and test what he could do. And that was one of the biggest things for Rooster Teeth. Alongside the content, alongside creating communities, it was also about giving people a chance. a chance to shine, a chance to do what they want to do, a chance to see what is possible and what is not possible. And it's something that I feel like, is kind of missing with a lot of other companies these days, just giving people a chance, taking that leap of faith to believe in, what other people are wanting to do and what other people are wanting to create, But I knew this stream was going to be hard. Like, I knew it was going to be hard, It's like 21 years, That's like over 2 decades, and that is about 2/3 of my life, It's crazy to think about, So many years of, like, hilarity, tears, love, happiness, and I'm not sure if there's really going to be anything like Rooster Teeth ever again, Like, if there is, or maybe there's others coming up that could be like Rooster Teeth, I'd be genuinely surprised. I welcome it, But one of the key things that Bernie and the others had always emphasized is make your own Rooster Teeth. Make your own opportunities. Make your own content. Make what you love to do, And again, that's why I do content creation. And for anyone who's not seen the last Red vs. Blue project, Red vs. Blue Restoration, I'm not going to spoil anything, but I will say, if you've been a fan of Red vs. Blue at any point, I highly recommend giving that a watch, because it's the original creators making the seasons again. It's not like someone else coming in from outside the Red vs. Blue project. It's the original creators telling the story themselves and putting like a final positive note on the whole journey, So, it's certainly been one heck of a ride. I will say that. So, the people of Rooster Teeth will now be going their own ways to work on their own projects. But I don't feel like that would be the end of what they've created, Not just the projects, but also the bonds they made. They've become more than friends. In a way, they're like family now, And even if they go their separate ways to work on different projects, I'm sure that they'll still be connected, So if you know of any Rooster Teeth member that you've watched over the years and are still following, be sure to give them some love. They're really going to need it right now. I'm sure things will be better for them because thanks to Rooster Teeth, they have built their own track record. They have their own portfolio now. It's just, it's going to be rough for a little bit for them, like figuring out what to do next. But, I really hope things will go well for them. Yeah. So, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap it up here. I know this is, kind of a more sad and more serious kind of live stream than usual, but I feel like I needed to do this for myself, to know that, this is it, Rooster Teeth is over. So, but tomorrow will be a lot more positive because tomorrow we are getting back to the Chow Garden live streams at 5 p.m. I hope to see you there. So, thank you very much for watching, whether you're watching this live or just watching this after it's live. Not going to do the usual spiel because this was just a personal stream for me, really. So, thank you very much for watching. And thank you to the people of Rooster Teeth for everything you've done. Their story will certainly not be forgotten. So, thank you very much for watching. I'm going to cheer myself up by doing something else now. And yeah, I'll see you later.